so important to rural communities and Hispanic communities like my own, where we depend on regional banks, on community banks for lending to small businesses. In fact, Hispanics led small business growth here in this country several times, especially under President Trump. Our economy is the envy of the world because of our ability to get capital to people and to small businesses so quickly. And so when capital is restricted, or when banks that serve Hispanic communities and districts like myself, like mine, heavy regulatory burdens places immense pressure on communities like mine and really affect the economy. That being said, in speaking with small business owners, they tell me if I can't get a loan. In fact, this morning we had the Texas Farm Bureau in a meeting, and they said when we can't get loans from our banks, that affects how much produce and how much we're able to harvest on our farms. And so this is a very, very serious issue. I'm going to ask Mr. Gold and/or Mr. Benson. Regulators are always adding more regulations. With the drop in the number of banks over the past decades, this sector's vibrancy may be facing death by 1,000 cuts, with Basel III being the latest of them and the greatest of them. My question to you is, have you seen any detailed analysis of the combined effects of the numerous regulatory proposals that have been proposed since March 2023, including the Basel III Endgame, GSIB, surcharging, stress testing, and long-term debt? I feel like I keep going on and on. But have you seen any detailed analysis when it comes to these areas?
I have not. I mean, I think some, at least in the capital space, had hoped that the Vice Chair Barr's 9-month holistic capital review would provide some of that analysis. But there was nothing, I think, beyond the speech, at least, that was publicly disclosed.
Congresswoman, certainly in the industry quantitative impact study we did with respect to the Basel III Endgame, we saw a detailed analysis, which the regulators probably should have done at the front end of this process, that showed the impact that hit across different parts of the markets. And if you think about, I know your district quite well, if you think about the agricultural economy and the energy producing economy, again, very capital intensive, financed through loans and leases, that's backed up by securitization either directly or indirectly through the banking sector. And again, the rules as compiled are punitive towards that and raise the cost. So that's just one example. But in terms of how it factors in with all the other proposals, I have not seen with the long-term debt, but they definitely are correlated.
Well, you said something that really stood out to me right now, but you said they should have been done on the front end. Tell me more about that.
Well, in the Basel III Endgame proposal, at the Basel level, at the international level, the Basel Committee, which the U.S. is a very major participant in, has chaired it periodically. Chair Qualls, I think Vice Chair Qualls chaired it at one point, if I recall correctly, but it might have been the Financial Stability Board. But nonetheless, they conducted 2 quantitative impact studies on the underlying Basel III proposal and fundamental review of the trading book, which is a key component of that. And after doing one, they went back and did another because they were so concerned about it. This has been going over the 10-year history of this proposal. In the case of the U.S. implementation, the regulators chose to put it out without doing an impact study. The industry did one because we felt it needed to be done, and we think it's instructive of the process. And then the regulators subsequently decided they too would do a quantitative impact study, which we hope and we believe is going to be released when they do the reproposal. I would argue at that point in time, because they're doing a reproposal, there will be new calibrations, a whole new framework. It's worthwhile to do yet another impact study, and those things take time.
Well, and as you just mentioned, these impact studies are so important because it seems like the regulations are being made without truly understanding the effects on the entire economy. And under the current administration, we've seen record inflation. And without seeing how this is truly going to affect, we could lead to more problems. Thank you. I yield back.